everybody. Today we're going to be putting together the Exceed J-3 Cub. This one is the yellow and black version here, and this is the RTF. It has a wingspan of about 40 inches. It comes with a battery pack and transmitter and everything all ready to go. We just got to assemble it, do some minor assembly, and then we'll take it out for a test flight if the winds allow us to today. If not today, I'll do a test flight later. I'll open up the box here, and upon opening the box, the instructions are right on the top here, and they look pretty much like other instructions that I've seen. Very few words, lots of pictures. It shows all the parts lists for in case you need extra parts and stuff. Center of gravity, shows the center of gravity, which is nice. Another thing that's nice here, if you can see it, is they have an exploded view of the parts. That's not necessary for what we're doing, but it is kind of cool to see how it all goes together and stuff in case you need extra parts, to order extra parts, and need to know how it goes back together. So let's take a look at the plane itself. We'll take out the wing here. As you can see, it's nicely packaged in a bag. It has some pretty nice paint job here. These are not decals. This is actually painted, the yellow and black stripes like that. It's all pre-hinged, the EPO foam, EPP, I'm not sure which this is, but it's one of those. It's not EPS. It's all pre-hinged, and it looks like we're going to have to put the connectors on for the servos and the control horns, but it doesn't look too bad. One nice thing I like is this radio that comes with it, this Exceed radio. I don't have one like this, but this is actually a really nice radio by the looks of things. It's 2.4 gigahertz, and it looks like it has some reverse settings on it and stuff. Now it does take standard AA batteries. The back is right here, but it does look like it has a charging port as well if you have a charger for it. So let's get the rest of the plane out, and then we'll start assembly and go from there. Okay, after opening it up and taking everything out of the bag and stuff here and looking over the instructions, there's a few changes that I want to make to these instructions. They are showing putting the wing on in number 2 and 3, and then putting the tail on in 4 and 5, and then going back and putting the control horns on. I think that's a little bit backwards. I think that the control horns probably should go on before that. The control horns go on in this position right here on just this one side. I see no reason to put these on first, put the elevator on first and then go back and put the control horns on. So I think we ought to do that. And the same with the wing. There's no control horns on here, and the servos, you need the push rods to go from the servo to the control horn, and those aren't on either. So I don't see a reason to put those on after the fact. I think we ought to put those on first, and then we can adjust them later. So I'm not going to follow the instructions 100% of the way here. So we'll start out with the landing gear. So the landing gear simply go on. I'm going to set this just like that so it don't break the tail. Landing gear simply go on, push right down into place here. And it looks like I'm going to break the things myself. Kind of squeeze them in. And I did happen to break that, didn't I? Well, I'm not very happy with myself there. Be very careful with this. These are not any kind of support, actually. The metal wire actually goes up through here, but these are simply plastic pieces. So I'm not too pleased with that. I'm going to have to come back and glue those with some epoxy. But let's continue on and see if we can get the landing gear in place. And this is going to take some work, I have an idea. I'm afraid of breaking this. That is very tight in there. So I'm going to cut away and keep working at this very slowly, pushing this into place. And then there's 2 screws that go in here just to screw this back. And then at some point I'm going to have to epoxy these pieces here that I broke. And hopefully we can make it look okay. So I went ahead and put the screws in here and got this landing gear farther down in. And during the process I broke another piece. So I honestly don't know how one would get this landing gear, as tight as that was, especially in this plane, maybe in other models it's different, other models of the same make and model, I mean. But I honestly don't know how you get it in there without breaking it. So I'm not real pleased with the quality of this plastic. It really makes me wonder how it's going to hold up during landings and takeoffs. So I'm going to have to epoxy that. But let's move on to control horn installation on the wings and stuff now. So I'm only going to show installation of one control horn here. They're all the same whether you do it on the elevator, the rudder, or the ailerons. It really doesn't matter. But we'll do it on one side of the aileron here. Basically, it just you take the control horn like this, and this part here faces toward the servo. And I'm sure a lot of you already know this, but I'm just reviewing it for somebody that this might be their first plane. So that simply goes there, and then you have back plate like this. And the back plate goes on the other side like this. And then you put the screws through. Comes with a bunch of screws. Put the screws down through and into that back plate and screw it down and pull it down tight. And you don't want to go too tight. And you only need to use 2 screws, one in each corner. And that will hold it more than enough. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll put on the push rod, and I'll show you that, and then I'll put the rest of the control horns on, and then we'll show final assembly, and we'll try to get the battery charged up and check everything. Okay, so I got all the control horns on. One thing I wanted to show you here on the rudder is you don't need the backing. They give it to you, but you don't need the back part for the control horn. It actually, this is a piece of plastic here. I don't know how well you can see it. Control horn goes right on in there, and the holes on this side are smaller. They're just the right size for the screws to grab onto. So that makes it nice and solid right there. Okay, now we're going to put the push rods on in between the servo and the control horn on the aileron. Oh, I also want to show you that control horn there on the bottom of that one. I did have to put it on. That kind of raised that up a little bit because it's hitting against the plastic, so that's kind of interesting. You might want to trim that back with a knife or something at some point. Okay, so let me grab one of the push rods here. Okay, looks like they have the control rods already on them, or excuse me, boy, I forget what these are called. Little clasps that clasp onto the control horns. So, for those of you that don't know how to do this, the important thing to realize on these is the positions of the hole on both the control horn and the servo horn result in different amounts of throw on the either the elevator or the rudder, or in this case the aileron, whatever it's hooked to. So in this case, what we want to do, I do this with almost all planes until I feel them out. I put the throws, set the throws for the lowest amount of throws possible, and to do that, use the bottom hole close on the servo and the top hole on the control horn. So we're going to put this in. And this has a Z bend in the wire. Just going to insert that in. Actually, and it looks like those holes are very small. So those holes are too small. So I'm not going to go on the bottom hole because they go almost all the way down. I'm going to go just a hole or two up. I wonder if this will fit. Maybe it's designed to go the opposite direction with Z bend on the control horn. No, I don't want to force that. So either way, those the holes on this need to be widened out a little bit. The best way that I found to do that is to take a very thin wire, maybe even the wire on this, and just heat it up with a lighter so that it gets good and warm, and then just push it right through, and that will melt that hole a little bit bigger. That'll save you from having to drill it and stuff. If you have a really small drill, you could also put that through. So I'm going to take a lighter and going to heat that up, and we're going to put that through and see how that fits then.